Hello and welcome to the iModernize podcast. My name is Amanda Blackburn and I'm the Director of Marketing at Profound Logic. So this is our first podcast and we're very excited to have the opportunity to share more information about our company as well as our solutions and stories from our customers and partners. So thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoy the ride and want to come back to learn more about us. So, as many of you know, Profound Logic has been a leader in the IBM modernization software space for over 20 years, but you may not know that we do a lot more than software. We also offer services that are truly transformative and help businesses on IBM be more disruptive and innovative. And today I'm joined by three people who are leading this effort: Jordan Antonoff, Michael Killian, and Mike Pavlak. And gentlemen, would you please introduce yourselves and tell us briefly what your role is at Profound Logic?
Absolutely. Thanks, Amanda. My name is Jordan Antonoff. I am the Chief Revenue Officer at Profound Logic. My focus at Profound is to align all of our departments to help generate revenue by providing our customers with a host of solutions to help them address a variety of challenges that we know customers on the IBMI platform are facing.
Okay, great. And next, Michael.
Hey, thanks, Amanda and team. My name is Michael Killian. I am VP of Strategic Accounts at Profound, and I really work with our team to have conversations with clients to help them really bring business and IT together, to really understand the challenges that IT might be having supporting some of those corporate objectives, and then to really put together a plan to help the organization kind of attain their vision through the execution of our services and software technologies.
Okay, thanks. And next, we have Mike. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Absolutely. My name is Mike Pavlak, solution architect with Profound, and I've been on the IBMI space for almost 30 years. RPG, IT management, kind of like the whole gamut there. But also over the last 10 years or so, I've been a huge advocate for open source technologies on IBMI. And also, in addition to being an IBM champion, I also teach part-time at a local community college, again, for the last 10 years or so. Open source classes and modern technology concepts. So I'm a big fan of moving the ball forward and helping companies advance.
Awesome, guys. Thanks. So let's kick it over to you first, Jordan. You've been with Profound for quite a long time, over 7 years. You and I have worked together for quite a long time, and we've seen a lot over the years at Profound as far as the different product offerings. But now you're leading the effort for us to expand our offerings to these services. Can you tell us more about that? One of the newest things that we're offering is flexible code transformation services, and it'd be really exciting to share that with everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you look at the IBMI market, especially over the last several years, we see companies spending a lot of money trying to move away from RPG, and doing so for one primary reason, which is that the development the pool of developers for RPG is getting closer and closer to retirement. A number have retired already, and it's becoming harder for customers to find RPG developers. And when your system that runs your core business is built on RPG, it's important to be able to have developers that understand the core of your system for a number of apparent reasons. And if you can't find those developers, then it's natural that you're going to start looking into ways to replace the language. So what we've been seeing are companies take on expensive, risky, and highly complicated rewrites where they spend years rewriting manually the system from RPG into typically Java or .NET. And over the years, we've heard from a lot of customers that these projects were spec'd out to be 3 to 4 years in cost, $3 to $4 million, and we've heard a shocking number of stories from customers where it actually took closer to 7 to 8 years for them to see some progress, and they had spent tens to sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars on these rewrites. And oftentimes, even after 7 or 8 years, they only had 10 or 15% of the system rewritten. In any business, if you look at a success rate like that, you start to wonder what's going wrong. So then we started, looking at, okay, customers have this challenge that they need to solve, and we see the problems with the way they're trying to solve it by manually rewriting. What if we're able to build a highly automated way to transform RPG into a truly modern language, something that is not becoming legacy like Java and .NET? So we chose Node.js, server-side JavaScript. It's a language with a very bright future, and we'll talk a little bit more later about why we chose Node and why Node is good for this. But the focus was for us to build a highly automated way to transform RPG into Node to remove as much chance for human error as possible. And we're pretty proud to say that we succeeded in building this technology. And based upon the feedback from our customers so far, this technology that we developed is significantly above and beyond what they've seen from anyone else with an automated RPG conversion technology. And with the combination of our professional services team here, we're able to deliver what can be highly complex, highly risky projects with a fraction of the risk and complexity, because at every step possible, we're removing the opportunity for human error and automating.
Well, that sounds pretty exciting and definitely something that's new for us. So what excites you most about this offering and taking this to the IBMI user base?
Yeah, great question, Amanda. In addition to what I was talking about before with automation, which is clearly a very important part of our approach to helping customers here, what excites me a lot about our offering is that we can deliver this in a truly staged approach. What I mean by that is we can come into a customer and select a focus for the transformation. Maybe it's a certain business unit. Maybe it's a small set of programs. We can transform those from RPG into Node and put that into production without having a disparate system that is not properly integrated with the core system that is still running with RPG and DB2. And the reason we're able to deliver this in a staged approach is because of technology that we've developed that allows Node.js and RPG to integrate together seamlessly. This is exciting for a number of different reasons, one of which is this is a big differentiator for us. If you look out at the market right now and you look at, for example, customers going through and doing a manual rewrite, you typically are waiting to the end of the rewrite before deploying everything into production and having everything moved over from RPG into the new target language. And that can cause a number of different business issues. What we'll see sometimes as well in the market is that a company gets tired of waiting for the entire system to be rewritten. So they try to go live too soon and they don't have proper integration set up between the two systems. And then you actually start to have a negative impact to your business. Our approach avoids that completely. You can transform a small portion, put it in production, and the integration between that system, the new system, and the current system is already there. So this is going to allow our customers the opportunity to not only move from RPG to Node with less risk and less chance for human error, but also start using the new language as soon as possible, which is always one of the important questions that business is asking when they're making decisions to take on projects like this is how long am I going to have to wait to actually leverage this technology? And with our approach, not long.
Okay, that makes sense. Sounds very exciting. I'm going to pass things over to Michael. So Michael, you have joined us recently at Profound. You have a long history, and don't take that as me calling you old, but you have a long history of working with businesses on IBMI. You've previously worked with ASNA and Fresh, and so now you're joining us, and you've helped guide businesses on their legacy systems journey, transformation journey for over 25 years, I believe. Is that right?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Well, so how do you think our services at Profound stack up against all the other offerings in the market for this type of solution?
Perfect. Yeah, and thanks for asking that. You know what? I think that there's a lot of services companies out there, and some that do things manually, some that do things in an automated fashion of sorts. So I think your question about differentiation in the market is really a great one. And again, thanks for asking that. So I think that Profound's service offering is really kind of uniquely positioned to the IBMI market for a few reasons. I'll just kind of rattle them off here as they come to me. But first, I think on time and on budget is our service team's middle name. And it's probably the most important thing that I hear from clients all of the time is number one, defining time and budget, but then delivering within that time frame and that budget amount. So those are literally part of our DNA, and we deliver the projects with those things in mind, knowing that that is how we are going to be judged at the end of the day. I think secondly, it's really about an amazing group of caring and really experienced people. And you combine that with the suite of integrated and automated tools that Jordan was talking about just a moment ago. And that's really where I think the superpower of our team comes together. It is the tools and the people working in tandem to deliver an organization's vision. So it's just like, it's a really, really powerful combination there. Really amazing. So thirdly, I'm going to say, I think that we have more acknowledged IBM modernization experts on our team than any company in the industry. When I think about the books that have been written, the articles that have been written, the speaking sessions that have been done over decades of time with the experts that we have on staff, it's really amazing that the depth and strength of the expertise that we have in that space. And that's so crucial when you're choosing a partner and a services team to assist with your transformation or your modernization initiative. So I think that's outrageously key. And then I think it's always important to know one size doesn't fit all, right? We really customize all of our development, our application maintenance, our transformation roadmaps. Everything is just done to address client-specific needs. And we'll really utilize our team. We actually pull from a really big ecosystem of partners also that bring their unique skills to the project. So we kind of bring all of these things together to deliver a customized package that meets exactly what the client is needing at that stage. And then I think lastly, since I know we're probably short on time, is the diversity of the team. I think it is such a key strength. And our team has really got this really rare mix of experiences, backgrounds and skill sets. And I think that it's the combination that really brings this unique insight to the modernization projects that we're doing. And it kind of results in a really thoroughly vetted, almost perfectly defined, amazingly architected, and skillfully delivered results. So it's really an amazing bringing together of this diverse group to bring a unified project to bear and deliver that to a client. So really an amazing services team. Really happy to have joined the team as part of delivering this to clients.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in my time at Profound Logic, I'm going on 9 years with the company. That is actually one point that I'd like to bring up, is that I've never worked for a technology company that has people who stay there as long as we do at Profound. We have literally people who have been here for going on 15, almost 20 years. So I can definitely say these are people who have a very deep caring about not just our products, but also working with customers and helping them be successful, which is something I'm really proud of. And
by the
speaking
way,
of
as a new guy coming in,
that,
it's just an amazing thing to see that. So I really appreciate that. I applaud you guys for that.
oh yeah, absolutely. So, and speaking of, being face to face and working with customers, what conversations do you look forward to having with companies in regard to transforming their code with this new offering?
Gosh, that's a loaded question. I've got so many things that pop into my mind. Obviously, I would love to kind of talk about the technology and solutions that we have that Jordan touched on earlier. But I think probably before we even get at that, I'd like to kind of chat about really getting to know the business, right? Doing some research, getting to know them. And when I mean getting to know them, it's we know that transformation is a huge change for companies. And that change really extends far beyond IT. And so we need to kind of move the conversation outside of just specifically IT and really get to know the company, get to know the people, their culture, their pains, their uniquenesses, their competitive pressures, and really, most importantly, probably their vision. All of those are really key pieces to orchestrate a kind of an aligned plan to move the company forward. So I think that's probably the biggest thing, is just really sitting down, having person to person, maybe not face to face these days, but person to person conversations to really get to understand the organization and what they're looking to do. From there, I think it's really important. There's a lot of organizations where I don't know that everyone really understands the value that IT has really brought to the organization over the last period of time, whether that's days, months, years, decades, what have you. Typically decades in this space. So I get that IT and business are sometimes not aligned. And I also get that maybe IT is not as responsive perhaps as the business needs. And then maybe even the current IT environment is viewed as somewhat old. But I do know from working for the last, as you pointed out, the last 25 years, that the development teams that have brought the companies to where they are today have so much more to give. And their knowledge of the business and the systems is really crucial, not only to the past success, but also to the future success. And so for me, there's conversations that I really want to have that allow those teams and people to participate and contribute and evolve along with the organization. And I think that in addition to the value they bring, one of the big things is just reducing risk in those transformation projects. Again, because of their deep knowledge of the environment, of the systems, and the business. So I think that would be the second. And then probably lastly, I'd like to have conversations to kind of share what I've been doing for the last, as you mentioned, 25 years, and what those 25 years of conversations with clients have taught me. So I'd really like to have conversations, maybe answer questions as far as like, how do organizations really determine the value of a digital transformation initiative? What are some of the pitfalls that they should avoid in transformation projects so that they can learn from someone else's mistakes? What questions should people ask? Should companies ask of their vendors and their partners that they're looking to work with on these transformation initiatives? When to do things on your own, when to partner, what budget traps, since we were talking about on time and on budget earlier, what are some of those budget traps that might present themselves along the way? And I think just, overall, just what guarantees success of these transformation projects that are so key to a company's delivery of their vision. So those would be probably the top 3-ish things that I would talk to companies about, and super excited to do so.
Yeah, and you brought up a really good point too, that every company we talk to is different. We talk to people who are looking to modernize and transform their IBMI systems and applications for lots of different reasons. Often different industries will have different drivers for why they're wanting to explore this. And, I know that in a lot of cases when we talk to customers, one of the challenges is bridging that gap between the technical side, the IT people who are really, getting their hands dirty, in the trenches with the IBMI and the applications they've worked on for so long, and the business who may not understand that, this is a platform that can be very scalable and flexible and help them accomplish a lot of the business goals that they have. When it comes to, moving to the cloud, having integrated systems, adding new capabilities like Internet of Things and AI. So yeah, so I think those conversations you're going to have are going to be really interesting as we continue to have those conversations.
Absolutely.
So now I'm going to kick it over to you, Mike. So Mike Pavlak, you're legitimately a legend in the IBMI space, and we're so happy that you're on our team here at Profound Logic. So welcome on board.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And you and I have kind of worked together peripherally over the years at events and stuff. I've seen you there, and the passion that you have for talking about the IBMI, and especially when it comes to open source. And I would definitely consider you to be an expert in that area when it comes to open source solutions. So what would you say to a company that wants to modernize, but they're held back by their legacy code? What would your advice be to that company to kind of think outside the box?
Oh, wow. Well, first of all, you're not alone. There's a lot of IBMI shops out there that have been, they're running code that may be, 5, 10 years old, maybe even 20, 30 years old. So, you can get started with this stuff at literally at any point in time. The challenge is, do you want to be disruptive, right? That's, do you want to, evoke a change in your industry? Do you want to evoke a change in your normal business process? I think those are key points that we look for in these transformation projects, because otherwise, why do you want to get there? And so we talk to customers, and usually that's why they're knocking on our door. They're saying, hey, we need to do this. We need to invent that. We need to be a differentiator in our space because of this. So we like to talk to them about, what is the application doing today, and what do you need the application to do tomorrow? And in a lot of cases, the opportunities with open source, bring a lot of existing pre-built solutions to the table, so the customer doesn't have to reinvent the wheel. And one of the nice things about our flexible transformation offering is that it could be as much or as little as the customer is looking for. So, if they're really, I've talked to some folks over the years who, they want to implement microservices. That's a popular buzzword these days. And, at the end of the day, do you really need, infinite scalability for your accounts payable? Probably not. But there may be a handful of applications that you do need in that particular target architecture, or maybe you just need to be, you need to move the whole application set over time, and start modernizing these bits and pieces. The neat thing is that we can pretty much go down the road as fast or as slowly with the customers they like.
Why would you say that Node.js is an excellent option for business innovation? Why is that a choice that they would want to make over, say, a language like .NET or Java, which is typically fairly popular amongst businesses that are looking to, quote unquote, modernize their code?
That's a fair question. Well, first, what you have to realize is that there are Java and .NET applications that are going on double-digit life, at this point. So it's not unusual for a customer to have applications that have been in place for 10, 20 years based on Java. This is the reality that we're living in in today's day and age. But really, why is Node attractive? There's so many reasons, but I'll try and distill it down to a couple of that really make sense. The reality is that Node has been around in the enterprise space actually for quite a while already, but the underlying foundation of Node.js is essentially JavaScript, which has been around again for a very long time, and it's very mature. The Node infrastructure, JavaScript on the server is still relatively new, over the compared to a legacy IBM or mainframe perspective. But as far as the open source perspective, it's fairly new. But it's been adopted so aggressively by organizations, by enterprises like Netflix and PayPal and Amazon, that it has established credibility. These are organizations that are running their day to day. If you have a Netflix subscription at home, when you click on those menu options, you're actually navigating through a Node application. You may or may not be aware of that kind of stuff. And you know what? You don't need to be aware of that kind of stuff. Understand the fact that that application set is running and it's working very well. Now, if you have a terrible experience with Netflix, hopefully it's not the Node. But the reality is the folks over at these organizations are leveraging Node because of its enterprise-like capabilities. In addition to that, I mentioned a few seconds ago that one of the advantages of open source is being able to work with other people's code, with pre-built projects, pre-built modules. Node has an absolutely off-the-hook number of pre-built modules out there, and it's really just a matter of, the users say, hey, we need this. And as a developer, I go out, I don't sit there and try and figure out how I'm going to build it. I go out and Google. I say npm, functionality, and boom, boom, boom. I see 20 or 30 entries out there. I start deciding which one I want to use. And now it's no longer a matter of having these long development life cycles in a lot of cases. It's a matter of actually integrating and plugging things in and seeing how well they work to decide whether or not we're going to go forward with a particular technology. Lastly, one of the things I love about Node is that it runs on the i, right? So customers who want to stay on the IBM i, but maybe like Jordan was saying, they're having trouble finding RPG folks. This is great because Node runs right there on the i, and we could just take advantage of that. And that transition, as they're moving as much or as little as they want from RPG to Node, is really smooth and virtually seamless. But for the handful of applications where they might need that infinite scalability, because they're expecting to actually get murdered the day the application gets murdered the day after Black Friday. Pieces can certainly still be deployed on an Amazon architecture or an Azure architecture to take advantage of that infinite scaling and not brutalize the IBM i infrastructure. So there's a lot of advantages to Node because of its flexibility, where it can run, and how easy it is to deploy, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you brought up a couple of good points too. Every year we have done a industry survey of the IBM i, market, end users to business decision makers, and without a doubt, like almost every single year, the number one or the number two, it's up there at the top concern of businesses is the pool of developers that have worked for a very long time on this platform who are actually getting ready to retire. And that's a big concern, that they're going to have this brain drain, and who's going to be maintaining this system. And I think that's one of the other really cool things about Node is, it's a full stack. So it's front end and, client side and back end, but it's also basically JavaScript, which is something that every developer for the most part knows or can learn very easily. So it's kind of exciting to think that this is just another way that we can extend the life of IBM i, that businesses aren't going to have to look at extensive, expensive, risky migrations to a different platform just because they're losing their current development pool.
Well, and you brought up another word that I don't think any of us have talked about yet, and that's risk. And risk is a big deal for IBMI shops. There's a reason why these folks are on this platform. They're this platform is not great for doing video games, right? You're not gonna run a Minecraft server off of IBMI, even though you could. It's just not what people do with it. It's a business machine, and they like it because it's stability, it's rock solid, and it scales, and so on and so forth. So how do you manage that risk? And by leveraging the skill sets of younger developers out there, and bringing them in the door, so they can seamlessly transition into the applications, that becomes attractive. But the other piece is by transforming the application, and leveraging the automated tooling that we have. Our first step is really it's a like for like sort of a transformation. So by not relying heavily on just people rewriting everything, the business logic can move to the new target architecture, very very how should I say, trustfully. It's probably a better word for that, but more reliably maybe is a better word for that. And now, the organization or the business doesn't have to take on that huge risk that'd be associated with either a rewrite or heaven forbid, a package implementation where you're being forced into another person's way of doing business. A lot of these IBMI shops have highly customized their applications, and it's these applications that are their competitive advantage. We want to leverage that moving forward, and take that into the target architecture, because if they lose that competitive advantage, they tend to lose their uniqueness.
100% agree. So we're getting close to the end here. Before we go, Jordan, I want to kick it back over to you for a second. So like we were talking
Sure.
about before, there are a lot of people who still only know Profound Logic as an ISV for modernization products. What would you say to those people to let them know that they can trust us and work with us on their services projects as well?
Well, I could sit here and go on and on like every vendor out there does about how you can trust us and trust me, and we're here to partner with you, and you would have to take my word for it. But alternatively, what you can do is actually reach out to us and engage with us on a small project and a small proof of concept to see how our transformation technology works. That's another one of our key differentiators, is that rather, if you look at a manual rewrite or moving from your customized system to a package, you can't really do a proof of concept. You do have to take the vendor at their word. We, with the nature of our technology, we differentiate a little bit in that regard. We can actually take a portion of your system, a very small portion, maybe one program, a simple program, have our services team conduct a proof of concept and show you this code running on your system. So in that regard, the proof is in the pudding.
Okay, so we have time for one last conversation here. So Jordan, I want to kick it back over to you. So kind of going back to the topic of, people who have known us as an ISV for modernization products for, pretty much the last 20 years, what would you like to tell them, about why they should also be working with our services team?
Yeah, absolutely. So throughout the past 20 years, we have been a software-led business. With that being said, it's also important to look at over the years a large, not necessarily large, but a decent amount of services projects that we've conducted, some of which were pretty large for our customers, where we would come in and modernize an entire IBMI green screen environment, so thousands of screens, or we've helped customers build core business applications from the ground up, from scratch, both for internal use and some e-commerce platforms. So even though we've always been a software-led business, we have experience in the services department. We also made a very careful and calculated decision to go out and hire some of the best in the industry to build our professional services practice properly. And one of the areas that we focus on significantly when it comes to providing professional services to our customers is a deep level of trust and partnership. The reason that is so important to us is we don't want to come in and help our customers with just 1, 3, or 6 month project. And if we don't do top quality work and deliver on time, then we're not going to have many additional chances to go beyond that project. For us, if we come in and we're able to provide what the customer is looking for and more, deliver it on time, and give the customer an overall positive experience, the customers will come back and do more work with us. And that is our ultimate goal here. So it's in our interest as well to provide top quality work. And the last thing I'll share is just, over the years, we've had so many customers come to us to share these horror stories of rewrites or migrations to new packaged ERP projects going terribly wrong. And as I mentioned earlier on, costing tens to hundreds of millions of dollars, so going way over budget. And after hearing so many customers come back and share that with us, we realized, hey, if we can deliver these projects properly, not only can we make a decent living, but we could also keep these customers happy. And the customers, they'd probably help these vendors who did a poor job on the rewrite or a poor job on the migration. They paid them a fair amount, and those vendors came away making a decent buck, but they didn't have that long-lasting relationship with the customer. And that's really our focus here. It's not to do a quick project and then go on to the next. It's to help our customers in the near term, the short term, and also in the long term. And to be able to have that partnership, we need to earn our customers' trust. That's just a very important part of our business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, over the years, I know we've talked to so many customers who are trying to accomplish great things on the platform and they get frustrated because they feel like they don't have the right tools to be able to do that. And when they do find tools, it can be very expensive and risky and lengthy. So yeah, definitely something that we're trying to address with our solutions is to help people through that. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining today. This is all the time we have today. So, yeah, Jordan and Michael and Mike, it's been great talking to you guys. Since we're in quarantine, I really enjoy getting the chance to talk to you in any way I can, even if it's virtual. So, yeah, thanks for taking the time to take part in this today. It was fun.
Yes,
Thank
you
you. It
bet.
was absolutely fun.
And for everyone else who joined us, thanks so much. And stay safe and healthy. And stay tuned for new iModernize podcasts where we'll explore the world of IBMI modernization and transformation and talk to IBMI experts, customers, and partners. Until then, goodbye for now.